Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and the winner for the poll for the latest video was about how Brexit, in particular no deal Brexit, could affect the UK service industry. Now, in terms of economic damage, quite a lot has been made during the Brexit process of the hits to our trading goods. Goods are much more familiar to the average member of the public, and so it's easier, I suppose, to talk about them. But our trading services is worth much more than our trading goods. So why hasn't this been discussed as much? Now, one reason is potentially that it's just completely screwed. So Brexiteers definitely don't want to be talking about it. They can try and con people into believing that lost trading goods with Europe can be replaced elsewhere in the world, a view that doesn't stand up to any sort of scrutiny, but that's okay, because many people don't scrutinise statements anyway. But they can't say the same for services. We all know that a significant chunk of our economy is down to financial services, in particular in the UK. The City of London banking centre is so large and powerful that it's essentially been the driving force behind governments allowing tax avoidance to happen on such a large scale, for example. Governments have tended to comply out of fear of losing the sector. Well, we are now losing the sector. It not only brings in a great deal of money, but employs about 4% of the UK workforce. It's not all located in London either, only about half of it. So there's other parts of the country also being hit by this. Now, nobody's saying that the sector won't exist at all, but any significant downscaling means a lot of lost jobs. Some will preserve those jobs by moving to other centres, as financial firms are increasingly requiring their employees to do so. There have been stories, articles about firms requiring employees to, sign new contracts that says that they will move to other centres if that firm requires it of them. And it's not just lost jobs. You'd also be thinking, even if those employees did move overseas, that's still lost tax revenue to the country. And it's the financial sector alone where the UK has stood tall in Europe. We are outdone by European neighbours in every single other sector. But we are a giant in the financial services industry, unrivaled. But that is changing. Passporting would immediately go if we left the EU without a deal. Now, this is what allows companies within the EEA to do business with companies in other countries within that group without the state's formal approval. Now, in the connected modern world, that is essential. And if those same companies would have to carry out that same business, there's an awful lot of time-intensive paperwork to be filled in, and it takes a long time for decisions to come back and all the rest of it. In the fast-paced modern world of business, that's simply not feasible. So, in the case of these companies, why have your financial dealings in London, which is likely to be removed from that passporting, and why not shift it to a centre within a part of the EU that will still be a part of the EU for the foreseeable future? Of course they would. City of London firms have already been moving staff and offices out of the city for a long time now. Some to Dublin, others to other centres on the continent. All told, about £800 billion worth of assets has been or is in the process of being moved out of the UK. And even if we eventually decide to stay, the longer it takes to do that, the more of those centres will be moving abroad. And they won't move back. Why would they? The benefit of being in London was always being part of this huge financial hub where you were in close proximities to similar firms and a huge pool of skilled and experienced workers in that field. Fling those officers and workers all over Europe and the hub loses a critical mass. And once it's gone below that critical mass, and I don't know what that is, it's no longer such a benefit locating there as, say, compared to similar centres in the Netherlands, Ireland, Belgium or Germany. So those officers and workers won't necessarily move back if we call the whole show off. That would just be extra expense for no return. Again, why would they? And it's not even just financial trade with EU countries that will be hit either. Companies based in countries from further afield do business through London to gain access to the EU markets. Now, those companies have also started to shift their business to more stable centres and will continue to do so. So although trading goods could eventually pick up after many years, which will come too late for many British companies right now, trading services on this scale will be lost forever. instead of having your financial affairs taken care of by London when trading with the EU, people will only do so when they want to base their concerns solely within the smaller UK. And it becomes more time consuming and costly to link businesses between the UK and the EU. So there'll be more of a push to not base any part of their business in the UK at all. Just base it all in the EU, where you have passport and use an EU-based financial services sector, and that's even more income lost for the UK. In the services industry as a whole in the UK, there has been a noted decline in hiring. When Parliament started to refuse to accept the withdrawal agreement, which would have safeguarded an awful lot of things the service sector needs at the start of the year, many firms responded to that political uncertainty with their own businesses. Businesses need to understand the market that they are operating in. But if that market is in flux, and in flux at the whim of unpredictable politicians, that makes it impossible to predict the market conditions for what they're investing for. And you don't want to invest in uncertainty. So the result is that growth in the UK has now been predicted to be just 0.1% the next quarter. And this is due to the uncertainty as to whether business can continue as normal in the future. Now think what will happen if certainty does hit, and that certainty is of not being able to continue with the destructive no-deal Brexit. So there we go. That's a little taste of what is in store for the services sector, what indeed is already happening in the services sector. We're virtually already in recession just as a result of this uncertainty. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe for further content, click the bell notification for other notifications as well. And if you fancy taking part in more of these polls, then click on the channel name and go to the community tab, and you should hopefully be able to see the poll for the next video. Till next time, I'll see you later.